In 2018, DC Comics released a Batman comic so controversial that within 24 hours of it hitting shelves, they pulled it from every digital storefront on the internet and recalled unsold physical copies from retailers across the country. The first printing went from a cover price of $6.99 to selling for over $100 on the secondary market almost overnight. Mainstream news outlets that had never covered a single comic book in their history were suddenly running stories about Batman. And what's genuinely insane is that almost nobody actually knows what the story inside this comic is about. Everyone remembers the scandal. Almost no one talks about the fact that hiding underneath all that chaos is one of the most disturbing and ambitious Batman stories DC has ever published. This is the story of Batman Damned, the comic that DC banned from their own shelves. In 2018, DC launched a brand new publishing imprint called DC Black Label. The concept was simple and honestly pretty exciting for comic fans. Take DC's biggest characters, hand them to elite creative teams, remove the editorial restrictions of main continuity, and let them tell mature, prestige format stories for adult readers. No comics code, no content guidelines, just top-tier talent with total creative freedom. To launch this new imprint, DC chose a Batman story by writer Brian Azzarello and artist Lee Bermejo. If you know comics, those names together should immediately tell you the tone they were going for. Azzarello wrote 100 Bullets, one of the grittiest crime comics of all time. Bermejo is known for hyper-realistic painted artwork that makes superheroes look like they exist in the real world. Together, they had already made the critically acclaimed Joker graphic novel in 2008. These two doing a mature Batman book with zero restrictions should have been a slam dunk for DC. And the story they created genuinely delivered on that promise. But DC was not ready for what no restrictions actually look like. Now, before I get into the story, I need to address the controversy. In that first issue, during a scene where Bruce returns to the Batcave and runs a full body scan, Bermejo illustrated Batman fully nude, completely uncensored. This was the first time in the character's nearly 80-year history that DC published something like that. When the issue released, it spread across the internet within hours. DC panicked. They pulled the digital version within a day, censored all subsequent printings with added shadows, and that first printing became one of the most valuable modern comics overnight for Bruce Wayne's dong. It remains a collector's grail to this day, but that controversy completely overshadowed what is actually a masterfully crafted horror story. So let's get into it. Issue 1 opens with John Constantine narrating. If you don't know Constantine, he's DC's chain-smoking, morally bankrupt British occult detective. He's a con man who happens to fight demons. He opens his story by reflecting on the thin line between opposites, love and hate, life and death, black and white. And he admits up front that he's a liar. He calls himself an unreliable narrator. That framing device is brilliant because it means everything you're about to see and hear might not be the full truth. We find Batman bleeding out in the back of an ambulance. Paramedics are panicking, but before they can help him, Batman regains consciousness in a state of pure animal rage, attacks the paramedic, and throws himself out of a speeding ambulance onto the streets of Gotham. He stumbles through back alleys, bleeding, calling out for Alfred, but Alfred doesn't come. Instead, Constantine appears, cigarette in hand, and tells Bruce that he's beyond Alfred's help now. Then the bombshell drops. A TV news report reveals that a body has been pulled from the Gotham River. The Joker is dead, and Batman was on that same bridge the same night. But here's the problem. Batman can't remember what happened. The greatest detective in the world has a gap in his memory on the exact night his greatest enemy turned up dead. The story weaves between the present-day mystery and flashbacks to Bruce's childhood. We see young Bruce at a park with Thomas and Martha Wayne. It seems peaceful at first, but then a woman emerges from behind a tree, glowing eyes, tangled dark hair, deeply unsettling presence. She speaks to young Bruce directly, says she exists in all places and at all times, calls herself his secret. This is the Enchantress, and she's been attached to Bruce Wayne since he was a child. The implication is massive. Something supernatural latched onto Bruce long before his parents were ever murdered. Meanwhile, the Joker's body vanishes from the morgue. Deadman possesses random civilians trying to warn people about dark forces. Zatanna appears running a street hustle. The entire magical corner of the DC universe is converging on Gotham, and issue 1 ends with Batman walking into a church and finding the Joker's body mounted on a crucifix. Ha 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 ha! Scrawled across the walls. Constantine asks Batman if he believes in an afterlife. Issue 2 escalates everything. Constantine's narration shifts to pain. How it's the one thing all living beings share, and how the lie that what doesn't kill us makes us stronger is exactly that. A joke. On a rooftop, Batman insists the Joker is still alive. He knows what he saw pulled from the river. He knows the desecrated altar, but he refuses to accept the obvious conclusion. Constantine directs Batman to the Cavern, an underground nightclub where they might find answers. But first, more of Bruce's fractured childhood unfolds. We see Thomas Wayne as a deeply flawed man. He walks out on Martha, calling her names, while young Bruce chases after him, screaming for his father to come back. Thomas rides off on a horse, leaving Bruce standing in a cowboy costume with tears in his eyes. Then we see young Bruce find a gun in the house. Martha catches him pointing it at her. She's terrified. She makes him promise me you'll never point a gun at anyone, no matter how desperate you feel. He promises. Constantine narrates. They never do keep those promises. At the cavern, Batman encounters Jason Blood, or rather, Etrigan, the demon, in his human guise, reimagined here as a kind of occult hip-hop performer whipping a crowd into a frenzy chanting, "Blood, blood, blood." It's surreal and deeply unsettling. Things go sideways fast. The crowd turns hostile. Guns come out, the cavern explodes, Batman escapes the burning wreckage only to encounter the Enchantress again. She calls Bruce dead, ever never mourned, calls him tearless. Here, fearless boy. Then she disappears. In the fire, Batman encounters a hooded figure who screams at him. "I see through the bat! I see your heart! I hear it cry, Judas! I know what you did!" Batman tries to save this person from the flames, but the figure refuses, saying he's not the one who needs saving. Constantine arrives and pulls Batman out. As they recover, Constantine reveals the real stakes. It's not just Batman's life that's in danger, it's his soul. Both sides are laying claim to it. Constantine begins to direct Batman toward the truth, but first, we get the real bridge scene. Batman's memory starts coming back. On the bridge, he encountered not the Joker himself, but Harley Quinn, dressed in Joker-inspired clothes, face-painted, wielding a baseball bat, chanting, "Beat on the bat!" She attacks Batman viciously. When he finally overpowers her, she crumbles. She begs him to keep hitting her. She says she doesn't want to live. She can't live without him, meaning the Joker. Then the real Joker appears, stabbing Batman with brass knuckles fitted with a blade. Harley tells Batman, "You killed him, so you need to die, a little death to haunt you." Batman is strangling Harley as Constantine narrates about hatred and survival. Issue 2 ends with Batman carrying Harley's body toward the bat signal, and Constantine's haunting words, that we may belong on the other side. Issue 3 opens with Constantine narrating about control, how it's an illusion, how we're actually surrounded by chaos, and how that chaos can pulp us against things harder than ourselves. Batman wakes up buried alive in a coffin underground. He claws his way out and is rescued by Swamp Thing. who warns him that his life isn't what's at stake. Both forces, light and dark, are laying claim to his soul. Constantine is there too, and they end up in a cemetery. The Enchantress attacks with Swamp Thing intervening. Batman fights her directly. She screams that Bruce was promised to her, mine, and that the deal cannot be broken. Batman defeats her, and Constantine shoots her remains to pieces. Constantine then takes Batman to a hidden occult parlor where Zatanna performs a seance. Speaking in her signature backwards language, she attempts to penetrate whatever is blocking Batman's memories. The visions that follow are nightmarish. Young Bruce with the Enchantress looming over him among the bodies of his dead parents, the creature calling him tearless for fearless. The suggestion becomes clear. The Enchantress may have had a role in the Waynes' murder. Or at the very least, she's been feeding on Bruce's pain since childhood. Finally, Constantine brings Batman to the GCPD morgue. He says he's kept Batman away from this place as long as he could, but this is where they part ways. Constantine gives one last piece of advice. Take care what you say to its almighty self. Inside, Batman confronts a hooded figure, the same one from the fire, who tells him, Batman, you fought hell for your soul, and now you stand before me in judgment. The figure says, you know what you did. And Batman responds with the line that reframes the entire series. I know what I didn't do. The full truth of the bridge finally unfolds. Batman's wounds from that night were fatal from a knife. A freaking knife! When the Joker fell from the bridge, Batman reacted like he always does. He tried to save him. Even faced with death, even after everything the Joker has done, Batman reached out his hand. But then he was afraid of what the Joker would do when Batman was gone. So he let go. He didn't kill the Joker. He simply didn't save him. That's what's been eating him alive. That's the sin. Not murder, but failure. A failure to be Batman in the moment it mattered most. The hooded figure passes judgment. You are judged, as you judge others. Batman looks at the body on the slab and says, I wish you were still alive. Then he leaves, slams the door. And then Constantine narrates one final time. We see the bridge, a fall, a splash, and then a figure crawling out of the river. The Joker. Alive. Laughing. Constantine's final words. It's just the start of another one. The end. What Azzarello and Bermejo created with Batman Damned is something truly unique in Batman's publishing history. It's not a murder mystery. It's a story about damnation. Batman's sin wasn't crossing the line, it was failing to uphold it. The Enchantress, Constantine, Etrigan, Swamp Thing, Zatanna, the Spectre, the entire supernatural wing of the DC universe converged on Gotham because Batman's soul was genuinely hanging in the balance. And in the end, the cruelest twist is that none of it mattered. The Joker's still alive. The cycle continues. It was just the start of another one. Lee Bermejo's artwork across all 3 issues deserves its own conversation. Every page is painted. His Gotham feels like a living, rotting city. His Batman looks worn down, scarred, human, and the supernatural elements feel genuinely invasive, like they're corrupting the pages themselves. It's some of the finest artwork ever produced for a Batman story. Ironically, the controversy that nearly killed this book's reputation is exactly what makes it worth seeking out. DC got so spooked by the backlash from issue 1 that they reportedly tightened editorial control on the remaining issues. Batman Damned was supposed to prove that DC could trust top creators with mature content. Instead, it proved that DC wasn't ready for what that actually meant. And that's a shame, because underneath all the headlines and the panic, this is one of the best Batman stories almost nobody has actually read.